It is now 7 p.m. and I'm reconvening to open session and calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, November 1st, 2021. Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Grover. Present. Ms. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Karubis.
Here.
Mr. Rising.
Here.
Ms. Deming. Ms. Jane. Here. Ms. Fosdick.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Ms. Jane, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have several board salutes today. We will start with Mr. Karubis.
The board salutes Steps Eagle Christina Jacobson for being accepted and participating in the Inspired by Ability program. The Inspired by Ability program builds employability skills through paid work experience that lead to competitive employment. Congratulations, Christina, on this great achievement.
Thank you. Ms. Grover.
The board salutes several District 204 athletes who recently participated in the Illinois Special Olympics. Steps Eagle Ryan Ward won a gold medal for golf skills at the tournament that took place in Decatur, Illinois. Emma Reese and her teammates took fourth place at the Special Olympics State Volleyball Tournament. Congratulations to Ryan, Emma, and teammates on their outstanding achievements. And I have another one. Congratulations to 3 STEPS students who were recently accepted and are participating in the Project Search program at Central DuPage Hospital. The program prepares young people with disabilities for success in competitive integrated employment. We salute Amanda Gonzalez, Katrina Kovach, and Shannon Selby on this great accomplishment.
Ms. Jane.
Jack Ellig is STEP's first alum to attend a 4-year college. He is currently enrolled at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Jack started college this fall, loves living on campus, and is doing well in his classes. Congratulations, Jack, on this great accomplishment.
Ms. Fosdick.
STEPS alum Drew Lugzinski has been accepted to Aurora University's Pathways program. Drew will complete his associate degree from the College of DuPage in November and then attend Aurora University. Congratulations, Drew.
Mr. Rising.
And keeping with the same theme regarding STEPS, congratulations to the six STEPS students who have landed their first paid job opportunity. 4 Eagles have been hired at jobs in Naperville, Sarah Scar at Dietta's Bakery, I hope I pronounced that right, Vince Pasdick at Mod Pizza, Andrea Vallejo at Organic Life Food Services at Hill Middle School, and Alex Block at Buffalo Wild Wings. Amari Coleman and Talib Hadley will be working in Aurora at Macy's and TGI Fridays, respectively. We congratulate these students for this exciting accomplishment.
It's great to hear all these STEPS accomplishments tonight. So, our next item on the agenda is the Student Representative Report by Saad Qureshi from Mattia Valley High School.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Saad Qureshi, and I'm the class of 2023 Executive Board Representative for MV Student Government. I am very excited to join you all tonight. To start off, the PSAT was successfully administered to 430 juniors on Wednesday, October 13th. Good luck to our Mustangs in their future endeavors. Homecoming week was very exciting and packed full of fun, starting off with the color event, Chalk the Walk, and an apple cider morning treat, and 2 great outdoor pep assemblies. The homecoming dance included a DJ in the stadium, accompanied by food trucks that included hot dogs, tamales, and funnel cakes. Congratulations to our 50 Matia Valley student musicians on their acceptance and participation in the Illinois Music Education Association District 9 Concert and Jazz Festivals. Our students completed an audition with musicians from other high schools in the western suburbs. These students will be performing at the Concert Festival at Dundee Crown High School on November 13th and the Jazz Festival at Hampshire High School on November 20th. Keep up the awesome work, Mustangs. The fall concert that the music students have put together were spectacular. The theater program has been preparing for the fall play, Clue, since the start of the school year. The play Clue is a comedic murder mystery that is based off the board game and movie. Over 70 members have been preparing for this show. Special thanks to the tech crew for making everything work on and off the stage. The men's golf team sent 5 golfers to sectionals and had 3 state qualifiers, Kyle B., Aman S., and Arjun V. Lots of program records were set, and the boys finished second in conference. The men's soccer team finished their season in regional championship game this past Friday. They finished second in conference, and their hard work was recognized throughout the season from coaches and athletes. Awesome work, Mustangs. Football finished 4th in conference. They defeated Wabanzi and DeKalb in conference play. They were a great group of athletes who gave it their all on both sides of the ball. Well done, Mustangs. Women's volleyball finished their regular season 33-2, conference champions, and they start the MV Regionals this Tuesday, the number 1 seed in the Oswego sectional. Good luck, Lady Mustangs. Both cheer and dance teams performed extremely well at home and away games, and both teams are excited for the competition season this winter. Our Special Olympics teams were gold medalists in unified soccer. They hope to continue their dominance into the basketball and swim season this winter. Stop by the athletic area to see all the hardware our hardworking teams have won this fall. That's all I have for the November board report. Thanks, everyone. Until next time, go Mustangs.
Okay, it is now time for public comment. 60 minutes is allowed for public comment, and each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups, and as such, ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep your comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. Again, tonight, we're limited to 60 minutes. We have more than 20 speakers. You are allowed 3 minutes, but if you speak faster, then we can allow some more speakers to step up to the microphone. But you will be cut off at 3 minutes. So I will, to try and help the process, name the speaker and then tell you who's going to follow the speaker so that they can be ready to come up quickly. So thank you. So our first speaker is Dr. Lily Bursiana, and Matt Ragusa will follow her. Sorry for the pronunciation.
Bursiaga.
Bursiaga.
It's
Thank
okay.
you.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm a psychology professor, and I partner with schools on trauma responsiveness. I'm also the parent of a past class student, current class student, and a future class student. And I want to address 2 pivotal points. The first is related to ACEs, and I'm not referring to academics, culture, or economics that was presented as the 3 pillars for the discussion on boundary discussion. I'm referring to adverse childhood experiences. And adverse childhood experiences go way back and documented in the research literature since the 90s. And these are important to talk about because they're one of the largest studies in history. And they looked at traumatic childhood experiences and their impact that they have throughout one's life. So some of these impacts can be whether it's the impact on trauma on learning, mental health, substance use, as well as other wellness issues like chronic mental health problems, chronic health problems, job opportunities, or even the potential for decreased earnings or even decreased job opportunities throughout one's life. So data from the 2018 National Survey of Children's Health showed that between 2017 and 2018, 1 in 3 children under the age of 18 have experienced at least 1 ACE and 14% experienced 2 or more. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has been categorized by experts as an ACE, by both medical experts and mental health experts, myself included. And what that means is that as of 2021, all children have experienced an adverse childhood experience, including teachers, staff. And so the COVID-19 pandemic has also been documented in the literature as being intersected with trauma and health disparities. So just really highlighting the implication that the pandemic has had. Considering how widespread ACEs are, the conversation that we should be having today should be surrounding how can District 204 move towards trauma responsiveness, and not whether or not we should be closing schools. And so really thinking about, do we want to add another ACE to the lives of our children? And really just increasing the negative consequences throughout their lives, because this is an ACE that we can prevent. The second point I want to highlight is really the lack of transparency from RSP. So based on last week's meeting, it was clear that RSP has a bias towards Concept 1. And if they're to serve as a facilitator for decision-making, then they should be objective. When any researcher or team is biased, this really skews the entire process and introduces systematic error into the data that's being presented. So I have two questions for the board. One, to what extent has bias been accounted for? And two, what steps have been taken to diminish that impact? The internal validity of any study or assessment
Ms.
is
Donahue,
compromised.
speaker's time has
Thank you
ended.
very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Matt Ragusa, and then followed by Tammy Reed.
Dear board members, my name is Matt Ragusa. I'm a graduate of Clow Elementary, Gregory Middle School, and Neuqua Valley High School. I've been teaching science at Neuqua Valley High School for 13 years. I am a homegrown 204 educator, and I'm an A+ educator. I also coach track and field, have been involved in STEM programming in our district, and I have been involved in professional development for middle school science teachers and elementary teachers in District 204. I'm here to voice my concern over the current boundary process and proposal to repurpose my children's school. I believe that Clow Elementary is one of the best schools in District 204. Our school is not underutilized by our own boundary process standards. It's over 70% capacity, but when you account for special education, every room in our building is used. Students at Clow in the last Illinois report card outperformed District 204 as a whole in ELA, mathematics, and science, not just as a school, but for all learner groups. To Katie Bennett for cultivating the culture that my two sons have been exposed to for the last 3 years. RSP and Associates is going to try and make the boundary committee, and then you, our school board, choose between boundary proposals that make you choose between having a broken feeder or closing schools. That's not the only options. Nothing about Concept 1 requires schools to be closed. Concept 1's feeder system doesn't change if Clow Elementary and Graham Elementary remain open. Why has not that been a proposal from RSP? After months of this process, why do we only have two options that exist from this outside contractor? District 204 understands the value of Clow Elementary, and it's apparent from the recent comments that RSP does not. We are not a threat to District 204. We are an exemplar of what 204 can and should be. I understand the need to redraw new boundaries to alleviate overcrowding in northern IPSD, but I disagree that closing one of our district's best elementary schools that is not underutilized will help that goal. I disagree that only having two choices after months of the boundary process is acceptable. As someone who grew up with 204 values, and now I'm responsible for sharing them with current 204 students, I'm asking this board to please bring these values back into the boundary process. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Tammy Reed, followed by Jose Leon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tammy Reed, and I would like to thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak to you tonight. Recently, my husband and I moved back from Texas for what I will call our third tour of Naperville. So we raised our 4 kids here in this area, and we were blessed to have them attend 204 schools. In my previous experience in the district, I was actively involved with the PTAs at White Eagle, Clow, Gregory, and Neuqua Valley. In fact, I served a couple of years as PTA president at Clow Elementary School and served 3 years on the executive council of the executive board of the Indian Prairie Parents Council. Tonight, I would like to speak on behalf of the many residents of our community who, like me, have a historical vested interest in the boundary proposals currently being discussed, even though we no longer have children in the district. I am adamantly opposed to any solution that calls for closing schools for the following reasons. Number one, as veterans like me will remember, we fought long and hard to pass building referendums in the early 2000s. At the time, we were assured that these prospective buildings were absolutely necessary. I personally, in an effort to get these schools built in the first place, I canvassed neighborhoods, I knocked doors, I was very active in my community, assuring my friends and neighbors personally that they needed to vote because these schools were in the very best interest of our children. We promised the taxpayers of District 204 that these buildings were essential. The last referendum vote, as I understand it, was in 2006. That was just 15 years ago. If the numbers that were used 15 years ago to justify a $100 million building referendum were so wrong and are so obsolete, please understand my reluctance to trust the validity of current projections, especially in the middle of a pandemic. Number two, with the passage of the 2006 building referendum, the district's long-term debt was restructured from 10-year bonds to 20-year bonds. It is my understanding that taxpayers are still paying the owed obligation on those bonds. I don't understand why we would be talking about closing schools that we haven't even finished paying for. Number three, since hindsight is always 20/20, it is easy to look at things now and to second guess the decisions that were made to concentrate extra capacity in the southern part of the district while the north currently faces overcrowding. Well, no one's first choice would be to subject any child to extensive busing commutes. The fact is that there is extensive capacity in the south to accommodate overcrowding. Number four, the RSP consultant indicated that his projections were 99.9% accurate. However, numbers alone do not tell the full story. They don't tell us the story behind those numbers. One of the huge benefits of extra capacity is the ability that we have in this district to provide adequate learning spaces for our developmentally and
Ms. Donahue,
cognitively
speaker's
challenged.
time has ended.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Our next speaker is Jose Leon, and then followed by Claire Sharp.
Hello, my name is Jose Leon, and I would like to cede my time to Tommy.
We need a name. Jeannie, do you need?
Can I please have your name, your first and last name, please, for the record?
My name is Tommy Asuma.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Asuma.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tommy Asuma. I am a 5th grader at Clow Elementary. I'm here to tell you about the amazing things about Clow and why you shouldn't close it. First, I have 2 brothers who are in 3rd grade and one is not at Clow yet. I want them to have the same amazing experience I have had at Clow. I want them to meet all the amazing teachers that I have had and make new friends. Next, our school is a walk away from our house. It is good exercise each morning to help get our brains ready to learn each day. We also get to pick up friends because their houses are on our street. We get to hang out and help their parents to make sure they get to school safely and on time. Lastly, Clow is an important part of our neighborhood. Most people live close by and enjoy spending time at Clow. Please don't close our school. It would take away a lot of love and community. Please keep Clow open.
Thank you. The next speaker is Claire Sharp, followed by Mark Walls.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claire Sharp, and I am currently a 4th grader in Graham Elementary School. I moved here with my family in December 2019 and was nervous to be starting in a new school in a new state. Shortly after starting at my new school, COVID hit and I had to start virtual learning. Being new and a little shy, I did not have enough time to make new friends, and I felt very lonely. When I finally went back to school in person, I was very shy but happy. After some time, I made some new friends and was finally adjusting to being in a new school. I was able to meet other kids my age in the High Meadow neighborhood and have been I was able to meet other kids my age in the High Meadow neighborhood, and I've been able to meet them in the morning so that we can walk or ride bikes to school together. I recently learned that my new school may be closing, which makes me feel angry and sad. I'm just now starting to feel welcome and that Naperville is truly my home. I am scared that if Graham is closed, I will be lonely again and will have to start over making new friends in a new place where I don't know the teachers or the students. Please keep Graham Elementary School open. All of those who oppose closing schools, please rise. Thank you for your time and allowing me to share my thoughts with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, we have some very articulate students in our district. Thank you. Mark Wells is next, followed by Jody Bernicki.
Hello, my name is Mark Walls, and I am a proud member of this community who has shown up tonight. There are so many supportive parents from Clow, Graham, Bilta here, and many more outside with signs, and many more online watching these proceedings. I come with a bit of a unique perspective. I moved to this neighborhood from outside where RSP ran their numbers, specifically for Clow. Not only because it's continually ranked as one of the best schools in the nation, but because I went there. Some of my teachers are even here tonight. I saw them, Miss Fred, Miss Moga. Hi, guys. Sorry to make you guys feel a little bit old tonight, because some amazing teachers still work there and are with us tonight. I'm really sorry to make you all feel old. I wanted to surprise you in 4 years when I showed up on the first day with my daughter. But sadly, I have to stand up here and fight for a school that has been award-winning that wants to be closed due to overcrowding in other parts of the district. At the last board meeting, a point that has been repeated by the community and the media is, what did we do wrong? According to RSP, what our gangrenous community did wrong is we did not push out enough babies to warrant keeping 10,000 children in their schools untraumatized. The company you hired that has proposed only 3 concepts without revision, without elaboration, and without feedback. All of these 3 concepts are inherently flawed, and I'm asking you to support concept 3 and see how you are being manipulated by false data to think that this is not the best option out of all these terrible ideas. 1 and 2 are the ones I'm going to break down. Many parents in the community have brought up that the mental health impact on children and the potential for depression and everything else that goes along with that. I want to talk about the physical risk. There will always be a child that misses the bus. There will always be a child that doesn't have the mental wherewithal because they're under 8 years old to realize that they can't walk across 4 lanes of traffic. And there's always going to be a distracted driver, somebody on their phone that does not see that child walking across the street. You may think this scenario is alarmist, over-exaggerated, dramatic, but all it takes is one terrible what if to turn a nightmare into a reality. That's on a personal level why 1 and 2 don't work. The more logical side would be claims that Clow is under capacity. Clow is not under capacity. We are over capacity in the north. But how does closing some schools in the south, thus causing overcrowding in other schools such as Springbrook, fix the problems in the north? Clow is at 76% capacity with the special education programs it hosts. RSP is quick to dismiss these students, but we aren't. At 76%, we are well above the median range of schools in the southern part of the district. Clow also meets the boundary committee's criteria for school. It has a mostly full school with some flexible space. That is what the district wants. That is what we want post-pandemic, to be prepared for any situation life throws at it, be it another plague or a quarantine-inspired baby boom. Other parents here will bring up more and better reasons to keep these schools open, but let's take a look at some of the reasons RSP has said Concept 3 is not the best choice. 1 is potential feeders. Why can't we combine Concept 1's feeders with Concept 3's lack of closing schools? I see I only have 10 seconds left, so hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. I am here with this amazing community, and we have shown up, and we will continue showing up again and again to make sure Clow stays open. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Jody Bernicki, followed by Tracy Skidzier.
Hi, I'm Jody Bernicki, a proud parent of a 1st and 3rd grader at Clow Elementary School, and thank you for this opportunity to tell you why Clow should remain open, and frankly, all schools should remain open. I do appreciate the work that you, the school board, as well as the other volunteers on the boundary committee have put in, just trying to figure out this giant puzzle. While this is a complex issue, one puzzle piece needs to remain where it is, and that's Clow Elementary School. Much of the discussion around the concepts to address these issues are data-driven. So let's talk numbers. At least the numbers that are missing in this discussion by the consultant and within the two options outlined for consideration. 2 of the state's top elementary schools are on the chopping block. Only 5 District 204 elementary schools made the top 100 list in the state for the U.S. News & World Report's Best Schools of 2022. Of those 5, Clow Elementary ranks 3rd in the district. 3rd. The 3rd best school in the district is on the chopping block. For top schools in the state of Illinois, niche.com ranks Graham Elementary 7th and Clow 10th. So now I'm puzzled why top schools in the district and the state are on the chopping block. This makes no sense. Moreover, the future enrollment numbers that the consultant is showing are not accurate. While they are based on live births in Will and DuPage counties, this does not account for the enormous real estate boom that has been happening over the past few years. This pandemic has created a seismic shift in society. Families are coming from other areas to the suburbs as working from home is becoming the norm, and they are coming to Naperville. They are coming for the amazing schools in this district. And within the current boundary for Clow Elementary, 138 homes have been sold since the beginning of 2020. That's according to Real Estate Multiple Listing Service, or MLS. Taxes paid to the district will also be higher, as all of these homes have sold for 12 to 15% higher than the year before. Even more for sale signs are popping up every day, and this is happening largely as families with children who've grown up are moving out, and new couples and families are moving in. This means more kids and more money to fund their education right in their own neighborhood. That makes sense. Clow is 3rd in the district because of the teachers, the staff, the students, and the neighborhood. What's happening at Clow Elementary School should be replicated throughout the district, not squashed out and burst into a bunch of different pieces for these kids. Concept 3 still really needs a lot of work. Let's be honest about that. However, it is the closest concept to addressing the needs of all students. Continue to give our kids the foundations for success in the classroom and a lifetime of learning beyond the boundaries. Keep Clow open and go Cougars.
Next speaker is Tracy Skidzier, followed by Kamala Martinez.
Hello, school board members. My name is Tracy Skinzer. I have 3 students in the district, including 2 at Graham Elementary, and am currently president of the Graham Elementary PTA. I'm here this evening to clarify our enrollment numbers at Graham as RSP continues to misrepresent the figures in their analysis. I have also brought with me today handouts I will leave with you tonight. The current enrollment at Graham as of October 27th was 290 students, up from 284 at the start of the school year, but both those numbers are significantly higher than the enrollment estimate of 245 that RSP is using in their analysis. This year, Graham's new student enrollment is up by almost 100, which is close to a 30% growth over 2020. Graham's preschool enrollment is up as well, and we now have 7 different preschool classes and do not have one single open classroom. The growth in Graham goes hand in hand with the activity we've seen in the housing market. In the last 13 months, River Run has seen over 40 homes sold, representing 9% turnover of their neighborhood. During the same time period, High Meadow has seen 41 homes sold, which is 7% turnover of their neighborhood. The fact is, the neighborhoods Graham have a blended turnover rate of over 7.5%, which is much higher than RSP's projection of 3 to 5 that was quoted at the October 27th boundary meeting. The reality is, due to COVID, we do continue to see these large migration of young families leaving the city. Last week, RSP commented that these young families are not moving to Naperville. But statistically, the fact that Graham's enrollment grew by almost 4 times the turnover rate and in the feeder neighborhood shows we are getting these families and will continue to do so. A prominent local realtor specializing in South Naperville we consulted stated while she does not collect the data, her observation has been virtually all families moving to South Naperville over the past year are young families with elementary school age children or younger. In her professional opinion, to quote, "It would be short-sighted to close a neighborhood school with so many young families moving in." As I shared with you before, a quick poll shows almost 30 households in River Run and 26 in High Meadow expecting to sell in the next few years. Based on these responses, we do not expect the current rate of housing turnover to slow down and the growth to continue. Finally, there's new construction data that was admitted from last week's meeting. Pulte Homes has already begun construction on the new Sawgrass development. Phase 1 will include over 200 homes with a projected elementary enrollment of 134 students going to Bilta. They are also seeking approval for a second phase, which is likely to be included and will include more homes and townhomes, bringing in more students. Factor in Bilta's current enrollment, half of Graham, and these new housing developments, and it is likely under Proposal 1, Bilta would soon exceed its current capacity. None of these factors were mentioned at last week's boundary meeting. Given the magnitude of the decisions at hand, we ask that you look at these facts. In closing, I know not everyone can talk.
Ms. Donahue, speaker's time has ended.
Thank you
But
very
anyone
much.
that agrees with closing schools, please rise.
Kamala Martinez is the next speaker, followed by Cheryl Barrowdale.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Kamala Martinez, a 25-year resident of Naperville and a long-standing 204 family member. I come tonight as a resident, but have served our community in many capacities. I have served on the Indian Prairie Education Foundation Board. I have served as the chair of the Planning and Zoning for the City of Naperville. I have also served on the Naperville Community Television Station Board and have covered many stories throughout our great community. I've served as the president of the River Run Homeowners Association and the PTA officer for Graham School, where my son Christian went as an elementary student. And most recently, I've served as the CEO of Kids Matter, an organization in Naperville that focuses on the social, emotional, and academia well-being of youth. So I come tonight with a unique perspective to tonight's discussion. The goal before us is to address the decline in 204 school enrollment and the underutilization of certain schools within the district. First and foremost, this decision has to be a business one, and it cannot be an emotional one. We need to look at multiple factors when making this decision. We need to take into account the pandemic impact to this community. We need to take into effect the future space needs of this school district. We need to have accurate and current numbers, because right now the numbers floating around are not accurate, and we need to have accurate numbers to make good decisions. We need distant learning to take that into consideration while we're in the middle of a pandemic. We need to look at the economic developments that are going to hit the south side as well as the north side of Naperville that will impact this school district. But last but not least, we need to take into account a strategic plan. We have to have a plan and know the direction and where this district is going. So let's review some of those impact factors. For the past year and a half, this community, our country, and the world has experienced and been impacted by this pandemic. We have seen suicide rates up by 22%. We've experienced loss of loved ones. We've experienced loss of just having prom, having graduation, being able to go on family vacations. We have seen social unrest. The world has been in constant change. Is this really a time for us to talk about more change on our 204 students and our 204 families? I have seen an influx, and I can speak about this personally in the River Run neighborhood. 7 houses on my block have flipped. The families moving in are coming from Cook County with infants and toddlers. We don't have them in our birth rate systems in DuPage and Will County. So we also need to look at that today. Tracy talked about the Graham numbers. I won't go into them because she already told them. But we have 290 students, 144 preschoolers, 100% utilization, and 65% enrollment.
Ms. Donahue, speaker's time has ended.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you very
for your
much.
service, yeah. Cheryl Barrowdale is the next speaker, followed by Mary Alexander Basta.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Barrowdale, and I am the mother of 2 children at Bilta Elementary. Like all of the other speakers before me, and I'm sure every speaker after me, I am concerned about the proposals to close schools. And I am here today to ask you not to close any schools, and also particularly not to close Bilta. I've been attending the boundary committee meetings and the board meetings and carefully reading the proposals from RSBs, and several things strike me. First, that closing schools is not something that is being done for our students. It is something that is being done to our students. And that is why so many of us have an issue with it. We know that it is not in our children's educational or social emotional best interests. Research shows that the impact significantly harms our students. with a negative educational impact that has been measured by John Hattie to be greater than that of corporal punishment and to be equal to diagnosing our children with severe depression. There are no benefits to our children from closing schools, only financial benefits for the district. To close schools and to add to the additional instability and disruption for so many children on top of the trauma, the learning loss, the mental health crisis caused by the last 2 years of the pandemic, is to make it so that so many of our children will be permanently traumatized, experience even greater emotional loss, and lose more of the structure and consistency we know is so foundationally important. BILTA in particular deserves to stay open for these reasons. We are a defined community in Bolingbrook, physically separated from everywhere else in the district by geographic boundaries of quarries, golf courses, rivers, water treatment plants. And the district says its goal is to keep defined communities together. We are ethnically much different than the rest of the district, with a defined Indian community making up 50% of our student population. And we are geographically far from everywhere else. Our students should not be bussed out of our neighborhoods instead of staying in their walkable community. We are also the only Bolingbrook school, and we are just as much a part of this district as Naperville or Aurora. To close the only Bolingbrook school sends the message that we are not valued. Our neighborhood is also growing. Pulte Homes is currently building Sawgrass Phase 1, which has more than 200 single-family homes in the BILTA attendance area that the district's own projections say will raise our student population by 135 students. That alone would bring our utilization to 55%. But Ms. Donahue indicated in a recent email that the district has become aware that Pulte Homes has a second phase of development for Sawgrass under development. And these single-family homes and townhomes are also zoned to BILTA, and they're not included in the RSP numbers yet. That will push our building utilization higher. And I have brought the mayor of Bolingbrook, Mary Alexander Basta, who's going to speak right after me, to attest to those numbers and share the Pulte data with you, since Ms. Donahue said you do not yet have it. But BILTA will not be
Ms. Donahue,
underutilized.
speaker's time has ended.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mary Alexander Basta, followed by Banu Swargam.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I speak to you not just as a Bolingbrook resident, a resident that would have kids in BILTA, but as an elected official just as you are. And I know how hard it is for you to try to make this decision. I'm not going to go off any paperwork. I know that numbers matter. But after hearing these two young children speak, it doesn't matter. I guarantee you that none of us took an oath of office to say that we were going to close or shut down anything in our communities, much less a school. That should not be on your radar, especially not schools that are not paid for and are still being funded by taxpayer dollars. We need these schools. Bolingbrook, as alluded, is a very tight-knit community. We are a community that engages with one another. We are extremely diverse. We have 5 school districts in the village of Bolingbrook. We are happy to say that the Naperville School District is a very close second highest for our community. Pulte Homes, we did receive a letter from Jay Strange, which is your chief school business official. It was dated October 1st, 2020, regarding the Pulte Homes. And I'm just going to read the last paragraph. After careful evaluation, we have determined that we can support this project. Students generated from single-family homes on the south end of the school district can be accommodated with limited negative impact. This was 1 year ago during the pandemic. This was saying that you could accommodate these homes and the students, not to be bused, not to be transported, but right there at BILTA. When we approved this housing, we approved BILTA, Gregory, Nequa. That was what they wanted. With regards to the numbers that you're asking for, I know that we said we have, you already have the numbers of students. You also have the tax revenue that will be coming by simply them breaking grounds and building these homes, which is a considerable amount of money that well justifies maintaining BILTA for many years to come. It is the newest school, and it's also the largest school. But the houses in the second section that I believe you did not have the numbers to will be an additional 51 homes and 142 townhomes. Again, Bolingbrook's accessibility off the highways, what's currently happening in the city of Chicago makes Bolingbrook a place for residents to move, and this Bilta, Gregory, Nequa is a very desirable school, and I do not see justification for even thinking about closing down our schools post-pandemic. Please look around this room and look how many young children are here. They're not at home playing on their Xbox, they're not playing sports. They are here, and their purpose for being here is to save their schools.
Ms.
Thank you.
Donahue, speaker's
Thank
time
you.
is ended.
Next speaker is Banu Swargam, followed by Jason Thorne.
Good thing I didn't need my steps tool today, but good evening, everyone.
Wait.
Oh,
What? Are you Banu?
yes, I am. Sorry about that. Oh, are you Manu too?
Hello, my name is
Banu Swargam.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Banu Swargam. I'm an IT architect, and I'm the parent of two beautiful children, and both of them go to Bilta Elementary School, Mega and Arush. Closing Bilta would be the wrong choice because Bilta is only one of the three schools under consideration for repurposing that is growing and has an obvious and guaranteed source of new students. With current Bilta student numbers and the combined addition of Sawgrass Phase 1 and Phase 2, there will be approximately 500 Bilta students, pushing our school utilization much higher and making it impossible to send our students to Graham, which does not have the capacity. Bilta is the largest and the newest building on the south side, freshly updated with new air conditioning and ventilation systems, with the most capacity for growth. Bilta hosts a unique and cohesive South Asian community with about 50% of students, and has hired teachers and staff that are from our community. 204 says it values diversity. Do not break up our community. We are geographically separate from the rest of 204, and the boundary committee says they want to keep defined neighborhoods together. Do not take our children out of our neighborhoods and bus them elsewhere. Bilta supports keeping all schools open. Stand up if you support keeping schools open. We want Concept 3. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Thorne, followed by Manu Kurania.
Good evening. My name is Jason Thorne, and two of my three children who are in third grade and kindergarten attend Graham Elementary. My family and I moved to Naperville from Chicago 9 years ago, and we chose South Naperville specifically for its top-ranked schools. Tonight, I want to start by addressing the bias that has been shown by RSP and Associates at the most recent Boundary Committee meeting this past Wednesday. By now, everyone is aware of the insensitive, unprofessional comments made by Rob Schwartz, CEO of RSP, about parents of the 204 community needing to have more children, and describing the school's proposed to close as gangrene that needs to be cut off. RSP was hired by the district to be an unbiased company to provide data analysis and boundary concept considerations for the Boundary Committee and School Board to review, discuss, and vote on. Mr. Schwartz's job is not to share his opinions and attempt to sway his audience to choose one concept over the other. What the 204 community witnessed at Wednesday's meeting was exactly that. Based on the feedback provided by the Boundary Committee at the end of September, why wasn't another concept proposed? It was also promised at that time that information would be provided outlining what the repurposed schools would be used for. Why has that not been shared with the community? Why can't schools remain open and feeder systems remain intact? How is closing schools in the south helping to alleviate overcrowding in the north? Another promise that has not been kept is updating the Graham enrollment numbers in the RSP slides. RSP claims to be 98% accurate with their data. Currently, their data is 82% accurate for Graham. RSP is continuing to use incorrect enrollment numbers for Graham after we've brought this up to Mr. Shipley and others numerous times. We're starting to feel that the lack of providing accurate data for Graham's enrollment and also lack of using accurate numbers for the new Sawgrass development in South Naperville is highly suspicious. Is there something else going on here in this process that we, the 204 community, should know about? In addition, only 43 of the 75 Boundary Committee members were present on Wednesday. That's only 57% representation. This is the committee of individuals that were chosen by the district to represent the entire 204 community to vote on proposals to be sent to you, the school board. How can we ensure that there is accurate representation of our 204 community if 43% of the committee members were absent from this voting process? How is this a fair representation of the 204 community as a whole? All this to say, we as 204 parents have lost trust in this process. Closing our beloved Graham and splitting up students will cause much devastating disruption to our children and this wonderful community that our Graham teachers have spent decades cultivating. Closing schools is not in the best interest of our children and their mental health. All those opposed to closing schools, will you please rise?
Thank you. Manu Karana.
As we've all
Wait,
established.
let me just say, the next speaker is Ellen Huntington, so thank you.
Well, thank you. Good evening. My name is Manu Karana. I've been in this very hall several times over the last 10 years as the PDAC liaison for Graham Elementary School. And I'm here today to simply highlight one of the many great positives about Graham Elementary. And that is, very simply put, Graham is an incredibly welcoming and nurturing and inclusive environment for all our children. Whether it's learning abilities, social or developmental needs, needs of families with English as a second language, needs of families that have ethnically diverse backgrounds, you name it. Graham has been there for every last child. Ladies and gentlemen, like a lot of other adults in our country, and I dare say a lot of us in this room as well, I didn't think that there was a great need for conversations around diversity and inclusion. As you see, my husband and I have had very successful careers. We live in a really very welcoming community of our own. And so we never really thought there was anything necessary to be discussed until the day that my son, who's now 13 in 8th grade at Crone, was about 6 or 7 years old. And we were at his baseball game. And a parent of one of the teammates that happened to be on his football and baseball teams came up to my husband and I and very loudly and very happily declared to us, "Hey, you guys, you should be so proud of yourselves and of your son for being so athletic, even though he's Indian." I am so absolutely shocked, and wow, you guys should be so proud. Well, I was shocked as well, for perhaps a different reason than he was. I wanted to make sure from that moment on that my children and every other child in our community and everywhere throughout the country and really the world grows up in a nurturing environment, that they don't have to prove anything, that they don't have to be left aside, that they don't have to feel that they're not included. Well, Graham is such a community, and I can guarantee it, other schools represented here in South Naperville are similar communities as well. Can we imagine as adults, if we look around the room, how difficult it is to assimilate into an environment that you don't feel that you belong, that you don't feel welcomed? And we're gonna take little children, in our conscious minds, we're gonna take them, uproot them from their very, very safe haven and put them in a new school and ask them to start over again. Because you know what? It's the finances. I don't want to say anything other than what already has been said, and I want to make sure that at least 2
Ms.
seconds.
Donohue's speaker's time has ended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ellen Huntington is the next speaker, followed by Helen Liu.
My name is Ellen Huntington. I have been a High Meadow resident for 9 years, and I have a 1st and 5th grader at Graham Elementary. I am here today to express my frustration with ongoing inaccuracies in RSP's data that pertains to Graham as well as Kendall and Boylta. Despite multiple requests for revisions, the data now being prepared for the community forums is still inaccurate, inconsistent, and confusing in regard to the schools mentioned above. Frankly, it calls into question the credibility of all the data being presented for the entire district. Closing a school has serious repercussions, and data should be presented without bias, with the highest level of accuracy. This decision must not be based on erroneous or incomplete data. I have for you a handout highlighting all the inconsistencies I have found with respect for these schools. At the October 27th meeting, we expected updated current enrollment numbers per school. Instead, what we got is capacity percentages per school. Please note that numbers on this slide are not accurate based on current enrollment from the schools or the projections found elsewhere in the RSP report. Updated enrollment numbers should be listed on the elementary enrollment chart, which has been in every single presentation until the most recent. RSP does not even include the current numbers as a starting point for each concept's projections, so we do not have a complete picture based on the actual data. A major omission from this project, of course, is the new Sawgrass development in Bolingbrook in the built-up boundary, where half of Graham's students are slated to be sent. This huge development is underprojected by RSP by at least half, and projections vary wildly from chart to chart. We should not be scrambling with 1 month left in the boundary process to uncover the correct data to show the subdivision's impact on enrollment. It is not acceptable for RSP to underproject these numbers in order to promote a recommendation to close Graham Elementary. Due to the credibility issues at hand, please take the closing of any schools off the table, which can easily be done within the Concept 1 feeder system. Finally, I ask you to consider a question from my first grader. Who made this sign? She asks me all the time, why are they doing this to Graham? That's a difficult one to answer. We're a highly performing school. With the addition of preschool classes, our building is very well utilized and an asset to the district. There is no identified need to use the space for anything else. Does it come down to money? Well, it's been said that closing Graham will save the district $200,000 a year. But the cost to repurpose the school is $1 million. That means that the district will not see any financial savings from closing the school until 2027-28, 6 years from now. Is that really a savings worthy of so much upheaval? Now, how would you answer that first grader's question, why, if you were in my shoes? Thank you.
Next speaker is Helen Liu, followed by Matish Jalan.
Good evening. Coach Helen again. Tonight I want to talk about the purpose of reboundary. The goal of the reboundary process is to solve for overcapacities and undercapacities in different schools. According to ISP, Niagara will undercapacity over the next 5 years. They are predicted to reach 72% by year 2026 to 27. So all the concepts which adds more community source to Niagara to increase the future student population make sense. What does not make sense is breaking up Welch community and sending north of 87th from Welch Niagara to Owen Waubonsee. The total number of the high school students from the impacted subdivisions would be 152. Whether they go to Niagara or Waubonsee barely makes a few percentage point difference in the overall utilization rate at the school within the capacity. It actually makes Waubonsee crowded for more years. Waubonsee will have 95% or higher capacity for 3+ years. ISP published the gross area map in the last boundary meetings. They highlight all the gross area, green for current development and yellow for future development. All the yellow areas for the future development are north of 75th and west of Route 59. They should all in the areas covered by Waubonsee and Matia. So moving north of 87th Street students from Niagara to Waubonsee is actually detrimental to Waubonsee ability to accommodate students from the future growth area it covers. Welch, Skull, and Niagara all have the capacity for the north of 87 students for the next 5 years. We are finalizing a detailed impact analysis with the updated data ISP published, and we hope to share with the board within this week. We urge you to review the information and modify Concept 1 to continue allowing students north of 87th in the current Welch community to attend their Welch, Scullin, Niagara schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Matish Jalan, followed by Lijian Zhang.
Respected 204 board members, my name is Mahesh Chalan, and I am a resident of Mission Oak in Naperville. I have two boys currently in middle school. The elder one is in 8th grade and is excited to go to NICWA next year. We are a Welch NICWA community. Before I bring my concern, I do want to bring back my background to the board. I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering from Texas A&M, and I have spent more than 10 years designing and leading school buses. Okay, as an engineer, right, as I design school buses, safety requirements remain in my mind in each and every step of the design, and we collect and analyze a lot of data. The lesser the time the kid is in the road, the safer they are, right? Our community has been bringing to your attention week after week all the safety issues related to Concept 1, but nothing has been modified so far. Right now, there are so many people talking about RSP and how they are manipulating data, or I can say we do not trust their data. And look like, before I was speaking, I was not sure, but now I have more confidence that no one in this room has any confidence in RSP. So I will bring, thank you. So based on the 27th October board meeting, no changes has been made to Concept 1. Slide 33 of the concept, this is just one example. I'm sure there are many, many examples of those, right? So in slide 33 of the presentation shows a map where it indicates that it takes about 11 minutes from Welch to Waubonsee. My community and everyone living in my area knows that it is a joke. There is no way anyone, if a kid is in a school bus, going from our community to Waubonsee, it will take much, much longer, right? They need to understand that a school bus, right, it will have a frequent stops, right, to pick up the kids. It will drive slowly, right? So it will take a much, much longer time. What they need to do is to understand that what time the kids need to take a bus so that they reach the school on time, right? And they have not done that. Our community was in the same stage 14 years ago, right? And at that time, the board understood that the safety was the foremost priority, right? And they keep us closer to our school, which is Welch and NICWA. The traffic is busier than before. Then why our kids needs to cross 59? Please focus on student safety in school reboundary process. When our kids can go to school less than a mile away, to NICWA and Welch, why you guys are sending them far away? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ajaya Zhang is next, followed by Maya Hill.
Respected board members, my name is Li Jia Zhang, and I'm from the subdivision of Prairie State. I'm here representing myself and at least 181 families from the Welch NICWA Resource Protection Community. I'm here against the Concept 1 to break up our community. Robert Waldinger, a psychiatrist and a professor from Harvard Medical School, he and his team had a very famous ongoing study that lasted for 79 years. The researchers tracked the lives of 724 men, following up with each one on an annual basis. Their study has shown that people who fared the best were the people who leaned into relationships with families, with friends, with community. The conclusion is that relationship is the number one thing to keep us lifelong happy and healthy. With that being said, what is our purpose of education? Do RSP care about this? I'm really not sure. But as parents, as family, as school and school district, we have to care. What should we do to guide our kids to build up healthy relationship in their early stages of their lives? Definitely not by breaking up the community. I just have one child. When she was young, I always have to find ways to help her to get friends from neighbors, community, library. So, and until she started her school, so she relied on the friends she made in school. She loved to have play dates with them. She hoped to grow up with them until college. And her friends is her whole life. Until one day she heard that the school rezoning thing happening. She locked herself in the room, very sad, and my heart was falling. I don't know what to do. Yes, some kids grow up with siblings, but do they really grow up with siblings? Not really. They grow up with their similar aged kids and from school and the neighbors. So what do our kids love the most? They love to be with their friends. What made them feel isolated and lonely when their friends moved away or separate from them? So what our kids want is very, very simple. They want relationship. They want love. So please bear that in our mind when we planning the rezoning thing. So keep our community complete. Don't split it. Our kids need it. So how could we measure it as a successful zoning plan while we actually feel faulty or even shame about it? Do you agree with me? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Maya Hall, followed by Kiera Nelson.
My name is Maya Hall, and I'm currently a sophomore at Mattia Valley High School. From someone that walks the halls of Mattia every day, I understand the need for boundary changes. However, I'm here to express the importance of allowing rising juniors to be able to stay at their current high schools. As upperclassmen, juniors like myself can provide our own ride and do not require busing or anything like that from the district. I currently run varsity cross country and track at Mattia, and over the past 2 years, I've developed strong bonds with my teammates and coaches. There are people I feel I can trust and people I intend to go to for college letters. I was even appointed to leadership council as just a sophomore. Removing me from an environment I know and love would hinder my mental and social health tremendously. I have 2 SEL lessons a week at school, and if the board truly cares for the mental health of their students, I hope they will choose not to remove them from an environment they spent the last 2 years getting to know. Junior year is arguably your most important, and colleges will look for kids to move into leadership positions in school and in clubs. If I were to transfer schools, I would not succeed in achieving the involvement in leadership essential to my college application. Essentially, I would be a new and confused student, and as a junior in high school. This puts me and many others at a disadvantage, as no club is willing to give a leadership role to someone new. I understand the board is very busy, but this decision will affect the rest of my academic career. I have everything I need to succeed at Mattia, so I'm asking the board to give rising juniors the opportunity to continue learning at the schools they know and love. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kiera Nelson is the next speaker. And how's the timing?
We probably could have one more.
One more. Okay, we'll have one more after this. Laura Hall.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kira, and I'd like to thank you for this time and acknowledge the work schools have done in assisting our mental health, especially during these times. However, none of these resources have been able to conquer the looming anxiety that has been brought on by the talk of changing the boundaries for Mattia and not allowing incoming juniors to stay at their school. I'm currently a sophomore at Mattia, but before that I went to Still. Leaving your friends at school is not a new concept for me, as my neighborhood was one of the only residences to go from Still to Mattia. As COVID took over my freshman year, I joined the cross-country team, and as isolation took over, I lost contact with my old friends and made new friends on my team, and they quickly became my whole life. I was able to join different clubs at Mattia and sports in last year and this year, meeting new people and working towards bigger leadership goals. This work, trust, and patience would be lost if I had to leave Mattia for Waubonsie. Furthermore, Mattia has been a safe space for me, with staff, help, and resources to get me through school. All these connections I worked so hard to get would be lost. Junior year is already tough academically on students, so I'm asking you to let us pick to stay, so we will not lose our opportunities, teams, friends, and let's be honest, our second families. I understand this decision is hard, but thank you for the time and your consideration.
Thank you. Laura Hall will be our last speaker, and you're our 21st speaker, so we did squeeze in a bit today. Thank you.
Thank you for the time. My name is Laura Hall, and I have triplets who are currently sophomores at Mattia. I'm hoping that you will consider allowing rising juniors that are in the boundary changes to the choice to stay at their current school. And unfortunately, I think we are the only parents advocating to go to the farther school. So I'm sorry about that. Last year, my kids were 2 freshmen. I want to make it very clear that I am forever grateful to the entire staff at Mattia for doing the best they could to give the kids some sense of normalcy in a challenging year. However, it wasn't until this year that we found out just how much they missed on. When we attended 8th grade introduction meeting at Mattia shortly before quarantine, Dr. Eccles encouraged students to get involved, find their passion, and find their people. So my children did. They joined various clubs and teams. While we were thrilled for the opportunity for the kids to just play, it was clear they didn't get the full team experience. Kids were spaced 6 feet apart as much as possible. Socializing and carpools were strongly discouraged. Pasta dinners, team dinners, and cheering on teammates were all prohibited. And now we are beyond thrilled that these things have been allowed to resume. But as sophomores, we had no idea that these type of events even existed. To be honest, we were caught off guard by all these extras that are now part of being on a team. While we may be sophomores, we feel like freshmen that are figuring this all out for the first time. Similar, during remote learning, my kids had minimal homework, if any at all. Tests and quizzes were rare, and my 3 easily received straight A's. Clearly, last year was different and not a representation of normal academic expectations. This year as sophomores, it's been a rough transition to in-person learning and finding out what the high school workload is really like. We had a rough start, but we're finding our footing. Once again, we feel like freshmen experiencing all of this for the first time. I've heard people say that junior year is the hardest year. Kids are preparing for ACTs, SATs, looking for teacher recommendations for college, getting jobs, and beginning to seriously think about what lies post-graduation. This is all hard enough on a good day, let alone coming off a global pandemic, where kids are struggling to cope with anxiety, depression, and isolation. If the rising juniors are required to switch schools, they will once again be freshmen for the 3rd consecutive year. Kids are already struggling with their mental health. IPSD says it is committed to the students' social and emotional well-being and have students participating in weekly SEL lessons. I hope the board will show the students your commitment by allowing them the choice of staying at their current school or transitioning to the new one. I realize that creating new boundaries is necessary, and I do not envy your position. We are just asking you to please consider allowing the current sophomores the opportunity to finish their high school careers where they are currently enrolled. These kids have missed out on so much, so please don't make them miss out on any more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our public comment. Our next agenda item is our consent agenda and superintendent report. We now move to our superintendent report. Dr. Talley.
Yeah, just wait one. Thank you, Ms. Donahue, members of the Board of Education and the Indian Prairie community. I will start my comments tonight by sharing some sad news. One of our teachers, Ms. Jocelyn Monis, who taught at Gombert, passed away early last week. Ms. Monis was married to Rich, a teacher at Neuqua Valley. She was hired in 2007 and worked her whole time at Gombert. She served as a reading improvement teacher, kindergarten teacher, and 2nd grade teacher. She also served on Gombert's instructional leadership team and oversaw the Kindergarten Readiness Club. May her family know how much she will be missed and that she played a critical role in helping to support the lives of children she saw. Indian Prairie School District has been working with our local partners on establishing a vaccine clinic for children. We expect that now that the FDA has authorized the COVID-19 vaccination for children ages 5 to 11, and the CDC will soon provide approval this week, vaccinations will start soon. Once we have finalized our dates and times, we will share the information on our website. Some clinics may take place in conjunction with other school districts or may take place here in Indian Prairie. Though we know that the vaccination is voluntary, we do want to make the process of getting the vaccines as easy as possible for our families who wish to get the vaccinations. November has been designated as Native American Heritage Month. This year's proclamation from the White House reads in part, quote, "During National Native American Heritage Month, we celebrate the countless contributions of Native people, past and present, honor the influence they have had on the advancement of our nation, and recommit ourselves to upholding trust and treaty responsibility, strengthening tribal sovereignty, and advancing tribal self-determination." End of quote. Our schools will incorporate lessons related to Native Americans as part of their instructional program. Additionally, as many of you know, our Executive Director of Equity position became vacant when the person filling the position took a similar position in a different district. Though we advertised the position, we have decided for now that we will not fill the position. Rather, we will work in-house to continue the work related to equity, as well as work with an outside agency to support us in our equity plan. Later in December, we will post the position again to fill the position with someone starting no later than July 1st. We still are committed to the work of equity and ensuring that all students have access and barriers are taken away for our students and their academic achievement. I'll turn the meeting to you, Ms. Donahue, at this time.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is our consent agendas. Please identify yourself and I need a motion for the approval of consent agenda items D through F.
Mark Rising, I'll make a motion for consent agenda items D through F as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jeannie, will you call the roll?
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Mr. Karubis.
Yes.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next, we move to our action items. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 1, Pre-Service Teacher Education and Licensure in Literacy as presented.
This is Natasha Grover. I move that the Board of Education approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 1, Pre-Service Teacher Education and Licensure in Literacy as presented.
Is there a second?
I second Jane.
Okay. Any discussion?
I just wanted to say, so IASB said do adopt, so if you vote yes, you're voting yes to adopt.
Is there any other discussion? Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
Mr. Karubis.
No.
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
The motion passes. I need a motion now to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 2, Student Safety and Protection Plan as presented.
Natasha's going to do all these, right?
Yeah.
Are you?
I move that the Board of Education approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 2, Student Safety and Protection Plan as represented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so this one is the one where voluntary district employees in any capacity would carry weapons, guns. So this one, IASB said, do adopt. So if you vote yes, you are agreeing with IASB.
The resolution committee.
The resolution committee, sorry, yes.
Okay, any discussion? Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Grover.
No.
Mr. Rising.
No.
Mr. Karubis.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
No.
Ms. Jane.
No.
Ms. Fosdick.
No. The motion does not pass. I think that's the first time I've said that since I've been president.
Wait, so
It
the
does
motion
pass.
passes.
Oh, it does pass? Wait.
Wait.
No, it doesn't pass.
Does not pass as presented.
It's not passed.
We all said no to it, so that it doesn't pass as presented. Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
a new
number
milestone
3.
for me.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Number 3.
Wait, I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 3, School Board Member Compensation as presented.
I'll make a motion, give Natasha a break. Make a motion, the Board of Education approve Illinois Association School Board Resolution 3 as presented. School Board Member Compensation.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
So this one, IASB Resolution Committee said, do not adopt to board member compensation.
So if we vote
So
yes,
if
we
you vote
agree.
yes, you are agreeing to do not adopt.
Okay, Jeannie, will you please call the,
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
No.
Mr. Karubis.
No.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
yes?
Ms. Fosdick.
No.
So we have,
Yes.
what does that mean? A tie?
We didn't do anything. Motion fails. We
Okay,
take
so
no
what
action.
Okay.
Just getting all first tonight.
It is,
Can't,
like,
don't
yeah.
vote on this one.
Never happened before.
Negatives.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah, motion fails, it says.
all right. I need a motion to approve Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 4, Board Member Child Care Reimbursement as presented.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 4, Board Member Child Care Reimbursement as presented. Natasha?
I second.
Clarification?
Yes. So this one, it is for childcare reimbursement for board members. And this one, IASB Resolution Committee said, do adopt.
So if you vote yes.
So if you vote yes, you are saying yes to childcare reimbursement.
Okay, Jeannie, any discussion? Jeannie, will you call the roll?
Mr. Rising.
No.
Ms. Grover.
No.
Ms. Donahue.
No.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
Mr. Karubis.
No.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
So the motion fails. Right? Yes. It's so confusing with the.
Motion fails.
Okay. All right. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 5, Remote Virtual School Board Open Meetings as presented.
Move the Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 5, Remote Virtual School Board Open Meetings as presented.
I second, and in this one, the resolution is that we have open meetings through Zoom, which we are having. We follow all the other rules for Open Meetings Act. IASB said do adopt. The resolution committee said do adopt. So if you say yes, you are agreeing to virtual school board meetings.
Jeannie, please, any discussion?
Well, just for clarification, that's not like we're gonna go and have virtual
Correct.
meetings all the time. It's just that if necessary, given what we just went through with the pandemic, where before the governor made an executive order, IASB is now supporting if boards of education make that decision.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Jeannie, will you call the roll?
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
Mr. Karubis.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
The motion passes. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 9 on health and safety education curriculum as presented.
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the IASB Resolution 9 Health and Sex Education Curriculum as presented.
I second. So in this one, the school district has a resolution that school boards should advocate for local school district control of the content for health and sex education courses offered in their district. And they were talking about the SB. There's a legislation already in Illinois, but what they're saying in this one is that we want local and school district control. I have my own interpretation of the act, and I don't know how else other people interpret it, but in my understanding and reading the legislation, it already allows for states and schools to have their own curriculum. If you agree with this, what they are saying, which is do adopt IASB, resolution committee is saying do adopt this resolution, then you vote yes.
And my interpretation is
Right.
that the resolution committees fear that the state will mandate a certain curriculum when school districts have a comprehensive sex education program, and they would rather have school districts decide the curriculum that they use.
Any more discussion? Okay, Jeannie, will you call the roll?
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Grover,
No.
Ms. Donahue,
No.
Mr. Karubis,
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick,
No.
Ms. Jane.
No.
Okay, the motion does not pass. Correct. Okay. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 11, Clean Energy Infrastructure Federal Funding as.
Number 10.
Sorry. Okay.
I'll make the
Back it up.
motion. The Board of Education
I
approve.
think I have to read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 10, Cannabis Sales as presented.
Make a motion, Board of Education approve Illinois Association School Board Resolution 10, cannabis sales as presented.
I second. And in this one, what they are saying is that they use cannabis sales, the school district is saying to use the cannabis sale, 20% of it towards schools. But the catch is that it's only to schools that are in a particular DIA zone. So it's only for those schools. And if you say IASB Resolution Committee said do adopt, so if you agree, if you say yes, you are agreeing to their position.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising,
No.
Ms. Grover,
No.
Ms. Jane,
No.
Mr. Karubis,
No.
Ms. Fosdick,
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
No. Okay, the motion does not pass. All right, now we get to the next one that I wanted to get to. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 11, Clean Energy Infrastructure Federal Funding as presented.
I'll make a motion, Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 11, clean energy infrastructure federal funding as presented.
I second. And in this one, the next three, 11, 12, 13, are kind of the same. And it's talking about energy. This one in particular talks about solar panels. The school district is saying we should have funding, federal funding for clean energy infrastructure and solar panels, geothermal heating. This one, it's interesting because IASB said do not adopt. So if you vote yes, you are agreeing that you do not want to adopt this.
Any discussion? Jeannie, please call the roll.
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Grover,
No.
Ms. Fosdick,
No.
Mr. Karubis,
No.
Ms. Jane,
No.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Motion
So-
failed.
No.
Motion does
Oh,
not
yeah,
pass.
failed.
Yeah, it
You're
does
right.
not
Yeah.
pass.
Oh, right.
Okay.
It fails. Didn't I say that?
Yes, you
Oh,
did.
okay.
Right, you're
It's
right.
like, wait.
Same thing.
We just.
All right, the next one. I need a motion to approve Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 12, electric school buses, charging stations, federal funding as presented.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 12, electric school bus charging stations federal funding as presented.
I second. Along the same lines, so this one is using federal funding for clean electric school buses. And again, IASB Resolution Committee said do not adopt.
Any discussion? Okay, Jeannie, please take the roll.
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Grover,
No.
Mr. Karubis,
No.
Ms. Jane,
No.
Ms. Fosdick,
No.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes. Okay, that one does not pass. Okay, I need a motion to approve Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 13, landscaping federal funding as presented.
Move the Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 13, landscape federal funding as presented.
I second, and this is like the third in the energy environmental kind of resolutions. So this one is where the school district says that we use federal funding again for landscaping and infrastructure improvements to mitigate the effects of environmental problems. What's interesting in this one, IASB Resolution Committee said do adopt. So if you vote yes, you are agreeing for federal funding to mitigate the effects of environmental issues.
Any discussion? Okay, Jeannie, please call the roll.
Mr. Rising.
No.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
Mr. Krubis.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, now I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution 15, child safe gun storage as presented.
Move the Board of Education approve IASB Resolution 15, child safe gun storage as presented.
I second. So in this one, the school district has a resolution requiring gun owners to store firearms, whether they are loaded or unloaded, in a securely locked container if a person under age 18 is likely to gain access to the weapon without permission. In this one, IASB Resolution Committee said do not adopt. So if you agree with them, you are saying, I agree with them that this resolution should not pass.
And I will state, like I stated previously in the previous meeting, I believe that IASB should have no position on what takes place in people's homes. While I do think every gun owner should safely store their guns, as I do, I do not think it should be mandated or discussed, or the IASB should take a position on this.
Any other discussion? Jeannie, please call the roll.
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Grover.
No.
Ms. Donahue.
No.
Ms. Jane.
No.
Ms. Fosdick.
No.
Mr. Krubis.
No.
Okay, the motion does not pass. I need a motion to approve the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolutions 6, 7, 8, 14, 16, amended position statement 17, reaffirmation of position statements 18, 19, 20, and 21, and new belief statements 22 and 23 as presented.
Move that the Board of Education approve the IASB Resolution 6, 7, 8, 14, 16, amended position statement 17, reaffirmation of position statements 18, 19, 20, 21, and new belief statements 22, 23 as presented.
I second. So in this one, we're just agreeing to everything that the IASB Resolution Committee, their stance on the rest of the resolutions and belief statements.
Any discussion?
And just to be clear, we've already gone through these and determined that we need no discussion.
Right, at the last meeting, yeah, they were reviewed, every one of them was reviewed, and there was no discussion on them, so.
And for the record, new belief statement 22 is one that we submitted as a
Yes,
district.
Ms. Grover was the author of that.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Grover.
Thank you. So, Jeannie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
Mr. Krubis.
Yes.
Ms. Donahue.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
Motion passes. And just for clarity for the audience, the Illinois Association of School Board resolutions, after we did our voting, Ms. Grover will be our representative into the state conference, where everyone in the state, all the school boards in the state will vote on their position on these. And if items are passed, IASB will adopt them as resolutions, and that means that it doesn't mean it goes into law. Some people are confused by this. It means that IASB will lobby for those positions or agree with those positions if there are legislative actions associated with that topic. So for clarity.
I have a question
Uh-huh.
that I think I'll direct towards Mark. Mark, you served on the delegate assembly before and did the voting. We just voted to approve and not approve a lot of stuff. How does it work when we had a motion that failed? How do you vote that?
So, oftentimes, many of these controversial resolutions get pulled from the consent agenda. So there will be discussions. If an item, say, the first resolution on the teacher licensure with the reading, chances are that will get pulled from the consent agenda and there'll be discussion on it. People will be able to make comments if they feel they need to make comments. And then there will be voting on that individual resolution. And there'll be a paddle raise of yes or a paddle raise of no. They count everybody. And then basically how it falls is what the vote is.
Do we feel like we've given our representative enough direction to vote no? So we've approved stuff, right?
Yes, correct.
But we have motions that failed. Do we feel like we've given enough direction to our delegate representative to say no?
Are you asking if we believe there should be a public comment by our delegate representative, Natasha? Is that what you're asking?
I mean, we voted no before, I thought. Not when I was president, but I thought we did, no?
Yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
I guess the question is, which one do we feel so strongly about that I can make a statement and we could, you know.
I mean,
So
we.
you didn't talk on every resolution, did you, Mark, Mr. Rising? Were you
No,
there?
the one that I did speak on last time that has come up again is the student safety plan, protection plan. There is something primarily, Ms. Donahue wrote a majority of it, but, I added a little bit in there from last time. We were not unanimous on that, however. So I'm not sure if that necessarily is one that we want to speak on. I'm sure there will be plenty of speakers, and at a certain time, they called a question, and there's only a certain amount of speakers get to speak. We've got another meeting before the IASB conference. If that's something that people wanted to email you on, as far as if they're passionate and want you to speak on a certain one of these that we supported. It kind of happened real fast, so I'd like to also take a look at the votes on some of these. And we can make that determination at the next meeting if we wanted to put that on the agenda.
Sure.
My inquiry is a little bit more specific.
Okay, sorry.
I think that's good and needed. But we had a motion to approve resolutions, and some of those failed, right?
Correct.
So the board didn't take any action on those resolutions.
We disagreed with the position of the IASB committee.
Is there a choice to abstain when she votes, since a particular one failed?
Well, you don't necessarily have to raise your paddle. Like
Oh,
on the
okay.
one where we split the vote,
Right.
they will know how many delegates are in the room, and they count the yeses, they count the nos. If there's no vote, then I would assume they would assume that the board has not taken a position on that.
I'm confused as to your question. So the ones that failed, I would just vote no on, or Because that was
She
the
would-
majority vote, whatever the majority vote was.
The majority vote.
Not on the one that was equal, not the one I'm talking about 3-3, but
So we had a motion to approve a resolution,
Then you vote yes.
and that motion failed when we voted no.
mhm.
So there's no motion? There's no position? Right? Am I being over-technical about this? I mean,
I guess I was picturing that on the one that failed for us, that when Ms. Grover was at the delegate assembly, when that item came up, she has a paddle that says yes or no. She would put up the no because we didn't pass that particular one.
I think what Mr. Krupis is saying
I-
is, do we
I-
need another motion to?
Yes.
That's what he's, I think, asking, right? Do we
yeah.
need another motion to
Yes,
say?
yes, I think, so I'm gonna make a motion that the Board of Education empower our board secretary's probably freaking out.
So that would be,
I think we need a motion that says that if a motion was voted no,
Or failed,
that our delegate can vote no, that is a no vote for the assembly.
or in opposition to
that's
the
not-
delegate's recommendation, the
Right.
delegate assembly, sorry. If the Board of Education had a resolution that failed, that we just took, the direction is given to, I guess, the delegate representative to oppose the position of the resolution committee.
That's much better. Yeah. I think that's what I'd like. Second.
Who's first? Or
Yes.
Gonna say what it is again?
I move that the Board of Education direct our delegate representative to vote in opposition of the resolution committee's recommendation if our Board of Education failed on approving a resolution. I
Okay.
can always call you tomorrow with that.
no, I'll just rewatch it.
Was that okay, Justin?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm looking for. I'm
Right.
sorry to cause confusion, and I should have
No,
thought
we-
of this sooner, but when I'm looking at the motions, I'm like, approved,
And
failed, and
next time,
it gets confusing,
next
right?
year, we should probably, well, we've got a motion on it. Well, there's a discussion. Next year, we should probably, in the recommended action, we should probably have, like, again, for example, if it was, Resolution 1, we probably should have it read that the Board of Education approve the IASB Resolution 1 as recommended by the Resolution Committee, or as do adopt. You know, we should have that do adopt or do not adopt language somewhere in
Yeah.
the actual motion that we're making.
Yeah. It was
That would make it
confusing last
easier.
year, because I watched the video from last year, and it was confusing us last year, too, the same issue.
That would be the easiest way to do it. is
Okay,
that
all right, so,
We have
Mr.
motions.
Kurbis, are you a second here on that?
Yes.
Okay, so Jeannie, can you take the roll?
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Mr. Krubis.
Yes.
Ms. Jane,
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick,
Yes.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Ms. Grover.
Yes.
The motion passes, so thank you. So next up is our discussion items, and we have our English learners update presented by Dr. Rafael Segarra. Thank you for being patient tonight.
I gotta tell you, you guys are funny.
I'm gonna limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Give me one quick second, I'm gonna connect my little clicker here. Here we go. All right, on. Well, Dr. Talley, Madam President, and distinguished members of the board, my name is Rafael Segarra, as mentioned just before, and I am the Director for English Language Learners, and I am here to provide you a feel-good update on the English Language Learning Program. Before I move into the bulky part of the presentation, as you may know, with any type of program that is ran through the state, there is all kinds of acronyms. And so I have taken the liberty of providing you some of these acronyms so that you have an idea as we go forward on the presentation as to what are some of the things that this means, these acronyms mean. And I want to ensure that we have a good understanding that this is the English language learning program. So you see a lot of ELL, but the state has gone on to change and call the EL students ELs, not ELLs, okay? So there's the difference there. And for data purposes, we use LEP for limited English proficiencies in all of our data. And then ESL, English as a second language, TBE, transitional bilingual education, and for our purposes, DBE, developmental bilingual education. The one thing that we need to, you're going to see this terminology throughout the presentation, is the word WIDA, which is the organization that pretty much sets up the standards for English language learners. And originally they started with 3 states, Wisconsin, Delaware, and Arkansas, and that's where WIDA came from. After that, as you can see on the projection, 38 states have joined, and they weren't going to continue adding a letter for every state, so they just left it at WIDA. And so now we have 38 states within the continent of the United States. We also have Alaska, Hawaii, the Northern Mariana Islands, the Virgin Islands, the Bureau of Indian Education, and last but not least, the Department of Defense of Education. So all of these places follow the WIDA standards, as does the state of Illinois. So as I was about to discuss the umbrella of the English language learning, notice that in the umbrella we have 2 sides. One has the English as a second language, that instruction is completely done in English. And then we have bilingual education. Bilingual education has a variety of branches, if you will. That's why you see transitional bilingual, developmental bilingual, and dual language. Transitional bilingual is a program in which, to answer one of the questions that had been presented to me in advance, is a program in which the students are literally, as the word says, transition. They start with their native language, but as they move along the grade levels, that native language stays behind, and they transition into the English language, officially leaving the child, unfortunately, without the fluency of their native language, something that is probably the least liked of all bilingual programs that are available. We have what's called developmental bilingual program, which is a one-way dual language program. And the difference between a developmental bilingual and a dual language, as you see it there, is in a developmental bilingual, we have a group of students of the same language. Let's pick Spanish, we could pick Chinese, it doesn't matter what it is, the target language. And all of the students within that classroom are from that native language. So a dual language program, more of a two-way program, would be a program in which you would have the target language plus English speakers of native English speaking mixed in the same class. So there you have half of the class being English speakers, the other half being of the native language. And that's what really creates the bilingual, biliterate, and biculturalism within the class. It is a Cadillac of bilingual education. We provide developmental bilingual at Georgetown Elementary currently. They have the population that presents itself for it to happen. So we've been fortunate to have been doing that now over the past 7 or 8 years now. We started with our cohort with kindergarten and first grade and then moved on to now we're up to 5th. We've gone as far as Fisher, where in Fisher we provide 2 classes in Spanish. One are the history classes and the other one is Spanish for Spanish speakers. And so the students that came from Georgetown from the developmental bilingual program have the opportunity to take those classes to maintain their skill in that native language of Spanish. So let's differentiate the district based on the fact that the last time I made the presentation, a few of you were not here. To receive ESL, which we provide at every one of our schools, you must have 19 or fewer students that speak the same language or from the same group in that school. If we have more than 19 students, in other words, 20 or more of that same native language, then by law we must provide bilingual education in that building. As you can see from the slide, we have Prairie Children Preschool, Brookdale, Brooks, Collishaw, Gombert, Georgetown, Kendall, Longwood, McCarty, May Watts, White Eagle, then Granger, Fisher, Wabansie, and Mattia as schools where we provide bilingual services. Notice that there's a little asterisk there. Well, our population is so diverse in our district that we are not only providing bilingual services in Spanish, but we're also providing bilingual services in other languages. Just to give you an idea, at the preschool we provide Spanish, Telugu, Tamil, and then we're borderline, meaning that we are about 18 to 19 students that are Hindi, that speak Hindi, Urdu, and Gujarati, okay? At Collishaw, we have Spanish plus Telugu. At Kendall, brand new this year, literally after school started, we reached 20 in Chinese. So now it's our job to try to find somebody that can help those students with Chinese. At May Watts, we have no Spanish. We have Hindi, Tamil, or Urdu as 3 different bilingual services we provide in that school, plus we're borderline Telugu. And at White Eagle, we have also Telugu, other than ESL, no Spanish there. So you can see the wide range of students. Just to give you a little better idea in that regard, when you look at the changes in our program over the past 17 years, you can see that back in 2005, 2006, we only provided ESL, where now we not only provide ESL, but we provide bilingual all the way pre-K through 12, and our population has jumped. Now, just to give you an idea in terms of the population, you can see there that that number with the asterisk means that those numbers change on a weekly basis, and they have. When you received this presentation, that was the number accurate last Tuesday. Today, we have jumped 9 more students. So we are sitting at 3,066 currently students that are part of our program. In terms of staff members, you can see the huge jump that we have done. As discussed tonight, we understand that the population of Indian Prairie has decreased. However, the English language population in our district has continued to increase every year, literally every year. When I started here 12 years ago, it was 1,500, so we've doubled it in those 12 years. Okay. To give you an idea of the languages that we have in our district, we have literally counted as of last week 108 different languages in our district. Back then we had 62. And we have about 33% of our population of students come from a home where there is another language other than English that is spoken. 8,673 homes to be exact. So we created this Wordle for you so that you could literally have an idea of all of the languages. That's the 108 in our district right there. I mean, there are some languages there that you probably didn't even know they existed, like me, for example. I look at a language like Oneida or a language like Palawan, Dari. Those are languages that we may have one student in the district, literally, that speaks that language. So here are the top 10 languages in our district in the homes and for ELs. Based on the fact that we have about 66% of our population that are native English speakers, or come from English homes, English-speaking homes, our Spanish population in the district that is the highest at 5.98%, followed by Telugu, Hindi, Tamil, Urdu, Mandarin, Gujarati, Arabic, Marathi, and Malayalam. But when we look at the EL population, that percentage jumps and the spots also do change a little bit. If you can see, Tamil and Urdu switch spaces. Arabic went up to where Mandarin was on the left-hand side and so on, and Russian made its way into the list, and it wasn't there before. And just so you have an idea, because when you look at this, the intriguing part of it is that we are speaking about specific languages, okay? But when you look at that list on the right or on the left, you can see that Telugu, Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Gujarati, all of those come from India. They are in 90% of all of those top 10 languages on the right-hand side come from Asian countries. 80% really, because Arabic is Middle East and Spanish, for the most part, is not in an Asian country. But the rest of them are all from an Asian country. And when you look at the districts, percentages of our students, well, whites is 40%, Asian is 33%, Hispanic 12%. So when we're looking at that, it's important to realize that we're talking about specific languages. There are many countries that speak Spanish, and that's why they create the highest amount of ELs in Spanish, while there's many Asian countries, and they all speak different languages. So it is, otherwise, an Asian language would probably top that, guaranteed. In terms of accountability for our students on a yearly basis, we test our students through the test called the Access Test. It tests for 4 domains, for listening, reading, speaking, and writing. A student that is going to qualify or qualifies to come into our program must score a 5 or above on the screener of the Access Test, which is made by WIDA. As you can see, I told you were going to see that acronym time and again. And those are the levels of proficiency as defined by WIDA. So a student that scores a 5 or above does not qualify. How is it that a student would qualify or not qualify? Is that it is all based on the home language survey, which is a mandatory survey, federal form, that has to be filled. And if a parent answers yes in any of the 2 questions, then we must by law screen the student, even if the parent doesn't like it. Unfortunately, those are conversations we have had. So, and then to exit on the yearly access test that happens in the window between January and February, a child just has to score a 4.8. Not just, but it's 2.2 less than to qualify. So those are, so you have an idea and a visual idea of exactly how that looks. Now, here is what I presented to the board early 2019. Just so you had an idea, the state average for exiting students is 8.5. Our district totals for exiting students is about 20%. All the credit goes to our teachers. They do a phenomenal job with our students. All we do from our end here is just guide them the right way and provide them the supports they need so that they can do their job, and they do a phenomenal job. Now, I would like to show you the scores from this past year, and these are unfortunately incomplete. There was a glitch in the system with access. First of all, they didn't end up taking the test until the end of last semester to start with. And so they were going to have, they had the preliminary scores at the beginning of August, but then they're not providing us the actual official scores until next week or the week after. Hence all those asterisks there. But what I'd like to bring to your attention in terms of those asterisks is the fact that we did not receive scores for 95% of our 2nd and 3rd graders that tested. Last year was the first year that the state has waived the opportunity for students to come and take the test if the parent didn't feel comfortable with letting them come to take the test due to COVID. So because of that, we had an array of students that actually did not test or that we do not have scores for, particularly at the elementary level. But if you look at those scores and you look at the students that we do have scores for at the elementary level, the percentage of students that actually exited is higher at 25% than 23%. That to me is kind of surprising, to be quite honest with you, based on the fact that a lot of these kids were receiving instruction remotely. If you look at the middle school, same thing. 9.7% of our middle schoolers exited, as opposed to 8% before. And for high school, we jumped to 2.6 spots. Overall, for the district, out of the scores, we do have 21.5% of our students exit the English language learning program, as opposed to the state average of 8.5%. A little feel good. In terms of what we're doing with our staff this year, we're focusing on a particular professional development with this book called The 50 Strategies for Teaching English Language Learners. And we have a book club with about 35 to 45 teachers that are participating on that. On top of that, during our professional development Wednesdays, we are providing, we are grabbing 2 of the strategies from the book and we're discussing them as a group with all 3 levels, and we're doing the same thing for the bilingual teachers and giving it the twist of the bilingualism to it. Additionally, our teachers also facilitate or become part of our professional development. We like to provide those opportunities for them to enhance their resume. So we tell them, come on, anybody wants to do a presentation on an activity that they do that relates to this, and we give them that opportunity. We also, our teachers also model the strategies and activities by teachers using the advantage of, contractually speaking, where they can go and observe a teacher for a day, and they also share all of the resources. In terms of updates of instruction, at the elementary level, we focus on our cross-curricular themes that are being used through science and social studies in the schools. Our teachers follow the standards plus the English language development standards and the Spanish language development standards. At the middle school, we review our social studies curriculum on a yearly basis and put it in Spanish for those teachers at Fisher. And then at the high school, yearly, those teachers get together and review the curriculum for ESL and for the social studies classes. In terms of resources for parents, we provide ESL classes to all of our parents that are interested in taking them for free in a partnership with College of DuPage. We do that at Waubonsee between September and July. While the parents are going there, if they have any school-age children, we give them a homework club to bring those kids so that hopefully there's no excuse why they're not coming because somebody has to watch their kids. We also have our Bilingual Parent Advisory Council, which is called BPAC. We meet 4 to 5 times a year, and we do an array of presentations for them. From the one that I just did, which we had about 65 parents show up online. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Believe me, it was good. Yeah, it was good. 65 parents. When we have it here, this room is filled. We have our homework club or daycare, whatever, on that side, and the parents come and they don't have to worry about the kids being in their lap crying that they want to go. They're doing some activities. We also feed those parents. We give them pizza and the kids. And I always remind them to take the kids with them when they leave. And so it's a great time with the parents. Coming in December, we're going to do a little workshop on the upcoming access, as well as we are working. I have a professional development gentleman that is also working with us, providing some information for parents on resources in the community and such. And of course, the district does have the PDAC, which is the Parent Diversity Advisory Council, and they meet regularly to help enhance the parents' knowledge of whatever the case may be issues that may be concurrent at the time. In terms of resources for our teachers, we have been running an ESL cohort here in the district. It is taught by Tracy Salek, who's my coordinator. I used to teach it, and they required me to take some online class just to enter the grades, and I said that's okay. So she's happy to do that. We're currently in our 6th cohort. It's through San Francisco University. Additionally to that, we just started a Master's of Curriculum and Instruction with endorsement in ESLs and special education through Aurora University, and currently we have 2 cohorts here from 204. Also, all our new teachers to the district on the first week when they come in, we provide some new teacher induction. Throughout the year, we provide them some training. They're supposed to complete a certain amount of hours, of which some are focused on English language learning students, and some of our teachers teach those. And ESL and bilingual teachers provide that training, as I just mentioned. And last but not least, all new teachers to our department, this year we have 5 to our department, receive some additional training through our coordinator 4 times a year. We pull them quarterly, work with them, because the amount of forms, paperwork, and such that our department requires in order to stay up with the law is immense, so as you can imagine. All right, let's talk about the seal of biliteracy. The stats on the left are current. These are the stats that were from 2020, that little chart on the left. You can see at the bottom all of those states that are in dark are states that are currently doing the seal of biliteracy across the nation. Those that are in beige over there, a little clearer over here, I'm colorblind, they are in the process of adopting. And we were one of 86 districts who implemented the seal of biliteracy in Illinois last year. Our first year when we implemented the seal of biliteracy, we had 49 students that obtained the seal. Last year, we had 105 students that obtained the seal and 63 students that obtained the commendation to the seal of biliteracy. That means that they just barely didn't make the mark, but they still get a commendation because they've made a good progress. And those are all of the languages we offer through the seal of biliteracy. We added this year Tamil to that. There's only a speaking test that they can take through the website, but then got in conjunction with this Tamil School of Language, and some parents were gracious to form their little committee, and they came to me and they said, how can we make this a reality? And we did. We talked to that school, and they are willing to test the kids on the other 3 parts of the test, because as I mentioned before, you have to pass in the 4 domains, in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. It cannot just be, oh, he's a fluent speaker, that's good enough. It isn't. Because what's going to happen is they're going to go to the university, right? And they are going to get credit for having the seal of biliteracy for a certain amount of credits of courses for whatever language they have passed. Not only that, this also helps them if it's in the real world in any career where it may not be college per se, but the future employer sees the value of an employee coming in. Now, if a student receives the seal, that does not mean they receive credit for that language in high school. What it means is that they have shown the proficiency in that language, and they will get the credit in college for that. In order for them to get credit in high school, they would either have to take the course, take the AP test, and those type of things. Now, to be at the level of qualifying, clearly you have to show proficiency in 2 languages. It's not just on the target language, but also in English. For a student that's an English language learner, they would have to score a 4.8 or above in the Access in their years of high school. If they did it as a freshman, that qualifies as them showing proficiency. If they are not an English language learner, well, they would have to either score a 4 on the AP test or a 540 on the SAT and then that would show that they have proven that proficiency in English. Other than that, for the other languages, it would be the same, not with the SAT, but for the AP test and any of those languages, or they would have to score a intermediate high or above in either the Apple test or the STAMP, which are the two tests that we offer. We offer those tests 3 times a year. In the fall semester, we offer it only for seniors, just to ensure that if they waited till the last year and they want to make sure they pass it, and just in case they don't pass a particular domain, they're going to have 2 more shots to take it. And they only have to take that domain that they didn't pass. So, and then the windows that are open for everybody is 2 shots, one at the end of January and then one at the end of February. And all of that is posted in our website. If you have any questions regarding that or anything further, I'd be more than happy to answer those and guide you through it. And I will leave you with be somebody who makes a difference, make you feel like somebody. So any questions that you may have for me, I'd be more than happy to oblige.
Okay. Ms. Fosdick, any question?
I don't have any questions, but as someone who studied teaching English to speakers of other languages, I'm delighted to see this program thriving in our district and serving our students in this way. I know that dual language is the Cadillac, as you said, but I happen to think in our, thank you, I happen to think in our district, the developmental bilingual programs might be better serving our students at this time to help them develop that community as well. When students feel supported, I think they're more likely to succeed, and by having those communities built in there, I think we're giving them that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're trying our best.
Ms. Grover.
Hi, I wanted to echo what Ms. Fosdick said. I think it's wonderful how you think about the whole family as well as the child, because I know these families are probably so anxious sending their children to school, not knowing the language, and how you make the child feel welcome and then in turn make the family feel welcome. And one question I do have is, with you were saying 20 students, is that 20 students for the
20 students of the
slide
same
4,
language.
Slide 4. So is that per grade or total in the school?
Total
or?
in the school.
So
if I have 4 kindergartners, 2 first graders, that's 6, 3 second graders, that's 9, 10 fourth graders, that's 19, and 1 fifth grader. I have to provide bilingual services in that school for that language.
So do you put them
For
all
those
in one
students.
class, or?
No. They get pooled. They receive individualized services per groups or per grade level appropriate, if you will. Depending on the level of the student, the state qualifies students as being full-time or part-time bilingual services. Okay? A parent has the right to request part-time services. A child may qualify for part-time services due to a variety of reasons. It could be teacher recommendation. It could be that they have certain grades that are keeping them afloat. It could be that the parent says that they're proficient enough to not necessarily need it full-time. Now, because of the fact that our numbers of students in our district are so spread out throughout the district, and that, like you said, 20 students may qualify this building as a bilingual building, but how do you provide full-time bilingual services to these kids? Is it feasible? Yeah, if we transport the kids to a center, and now I've heard the discussion, right? Which is what I do, is I hire teacher assistants through the grants of that native language. And so those kids get pulled to work with the teacher, and then when they get sent back to the general classroom, those teacher assistants will push in and provide support for those kids in that classroom along with the teacher, so to ensure that those kids are gaining the necessary language. And, you know, I must be 100% honest. We are fortunate that we have a great community and that we have a very affluent community regardless of where they come from. Our Asian population has a set of standards for their students in terms of learning that is darn near unparalleled. We get kids from Hispanic countries that those parents may come with a 8th grade level of instruction. And when we see all of our children exiting is because we have a great Asian population that excels in the classroom, in everything they do. And that does help our population and in terms of our numbers make us look really good. But, you know, that's because we have a great community. We're very fortunate in that regard. If we go, you know, 5-10 miles down the side, those exit numbers are not going to look the same.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rising?
Slide 15.
Aha.
I think it's one up than that. There you go. So first of all, like you said, commendations or thanks to our teachers for getting our students to exit this, especially when you look at the state average of 8.5%. My question here is, I'm assuming we're seeing a lower percentage at the middle school level, maybe because we might not have had those kids all through elementary school.
You know, I got to be honest with you.
It could vary.
Yeah, it's always been the case. The elementary level students are our hardest to exit. Why is that? I mean, our support, what we provide our kids in terms of the teachers, what they're doing with them, is no different than what we provide at the elementary level or the high school level. However, there is something to be said for the maturity of the student at that level. There's something to be said for the fact that if they are in that percentage of population that didn't exit during elementary years, that they can become long life ELs. And they may graduate from high school as an EL, and they will not change. There are kids, and this tends to happen literally middle school and up, where to them the access means nothing. They would rather just go through it and get done quickly. Unfortunately, that happens. I'm not going to say that's definitely not the case with all of our students, but that does happen. Our teachers are very challenged in that regard, but we continue to push. We continue to find different avenues to help. Well, as you can see, the number went up a little bit from the slide before. If you see the slide before, it was 8%. It's 9.7.
Right.
You know, that's great, but am I happy with that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm just glad, as a board member, I'm glad to see an increase. So, you know, kudos to you and all the staff. The other question is, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but it's something that I frequently have heard, that sometimes parents don't want to be screened, and they might intentionally not necessarily mark certain things on the check boxes.
Correct.
So their kids. Do you think we're seeing a significant amount of people, or do you think that's just a small percentage?
No, actually, sadly to say, sometimes after they have to be screened, the parent says, so you're punishing me or you're trying to label me because I was being truthful? And I'm like, no, that's exactly what we want, for you to be truthful. We want you to be honest. We want success for your child.
Right.
And there is no way. My child has never spoken that language before, they'll say. My child has only known English. And I say that's very possible. You have a kindergartner that comes in to take a test with a stranger, and they may freeze up. They've not had to go into a school setting and sit with an adult that they don't know and take a test. and sometimes they just freeze and don't answer. And that can be a cause for why some students may not do well. Some parents, once that happens with their kid, they will go, and you think I'm going to put check mark on that form when my next kid comes along? I'm not going to do it. And what am I going to say to that? I can't. If they choose to go that route, there really is nothing you can do. What you can do is keep an eye as the kid starts going through school. If they are truly having a language deficiency, it's going to show up. At some point, the teachers are going to say, there's something here. Maybe we need to test your kid to see if it's special ed or something because he's not learning at the rate. And the parent would go, oh, no, wait a minute. There's a language. Now, okay, so let's test them. That could be one of the factors. I can't guarantee it because every case is different. I've had parents that we were going to exit the kid and they didn't want him exited. They're like, he's not ready. And I'm like, well, he's taking the test and the test says he's ready. Maybe you need to have a little more confidence in your child because he's doing well. He's doing well. But we take every case individually.
Okay. Thanks,
Even
Dr.
if a
Square.
parent chooses to ask if the kid can stay an extra year, we'll grant that.
Thank you.
Ms. Jane?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Segarra, for answering most of my questions today through your lovely presentation. I'm echoing what Member Grover and Member Fosdick said in terms of it just warms my heart to see the number of languages that are spoken in our district and also nurtured in our district. Your explanation between transitional and developmental bilingualism it's exactly what I wanted to understand more, and you answered that wonderfully. I do have just a few follow-up questions.
Sure.
Slide number 7, I think it is.
That one?
With the number of languages, yes. So you mentioned that this number changes frequently, and I guess I'm wondering how does that come about? Like, how do we not know that a child may need these services last week and come to know of it this week?
Because we have students that enter the district literally on a daily basis.
Oh, okay.
So, last week we had maybe 20 kids that registered or that transferred. And so based on their home language survey, we need to then assess if they need to be screened or not. So hence why those numbers have changed a little. Now, what I will tell you is that I foresee those numbers to go down. The reason for that is in a week or two, when we receive the access and see all of the second and third graders' scores, there's going to be a slew of those kids that actually passed and are qualified to exit. And so those numbers will most likely go down. I would be more than happy to provide that to you after the fact. I'll do it through Dr. Talley.
Great, thank you. And do these numbers seem to be consistent with previous years? Or do you see the pandemic having any effect on your numbers this year?
You know what? I honestly believed that our numbers were going to be much higher due to the pandemic. So, but last year we were sitting, the year before, not last year, we were sitting at about 3,000 students.
Okay.
So the numbers fluctuate, Granted, if our population has gone down some in the district, this would be the first time that our population of ELs go down. Because literally every year we may be losing sections, and I always go, boss, I need another teacher. Our numbers keep going up. My boss over there keeps looking at me like, by the way, tomorrow's his birthday. So anyway, I like to embarrass him. So those things fluctuate. It's all numbers. It's all what's coming and what's going. There is no formula that says we started the year with 27,000 students and we stay there, right? So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Slide number 19. I just wanted to clarify. So for all of our teachers at some point get some training about bilingual education or
Yes.
bilingual training? Okay,
Yes.
great.
You mean our general education teachers?
Correct. Like a
Okay,
homeroom
so
teacher in third grade would, at some point in their career, would
We-
have received.
Okay, so let me give you a little, I'm going to make it quick. You see the eyes. I'm going to make it quick. So what we try to do is we try to ensure that our English language learners do a presentation through their professional development Wednesdays at some point during the year to their staff through the principal. And I am more than happy when principals invite us, or if the teacher feels like it's a big crowd, would you come and support, to go and do that presentation for teachers. 45 minutes, and we go over a gamut of all of the things that teachers need to understand and know. Strategies, what are the big 10 ideas on how to, with kids and all of that. Bilingual education, there's a number of requirements by the state when we fill out the grant that we must touch up on. And I must put how many, I literally have to put how many teachers are being impacted by that. For example, when we have our institute days, we've gone into the mode where now our institute days, our teachers are able to select an array of things they would like to learn. Well, we make options. We say we are doing ELs with special ed, and we get a slew of teachers that sign up for that. We put bilinguals in your classroom. Are you having problems with ESLs, with strategies, is that, and they sign up for those things. So we make them available to our gen ed teachers as well as those other trainings.
So they're available, but not necessarily required.
That's correct.
Okay.
They're required to be offered by us.
Right.
They're not required to be taken by them.
Got it. Okay.
Let me just add one quick thing. To become certified as a teacher, one does not have to have a course in ESL. That's a very unfortunate thing because every teacher is basically going to touch or have access or be involved with an ESL student. And so I think it's a question that we have to look at the state level with regards to certifications.
Thank you. I did not know that, and that's very helpful.
But if you look right there, you see this. This is very important what's happening right now. You know, this Masters of Curriculum and Instruction that our teachers are taking, that includes ESL and special education, is big. So, and we're in our 6th cohort. That's about 20 students every year in every cohort that we have been training.
That's wonderful. I mean, I must admit I have a bit of a self-interest in this because many decades ago, I won't say the exact, so I won't tell you my age, but I was held back because I was bilingual, and there was no assessment process whatsoever. So, you know, but we've come a long way, and I'm just curious as to how we can equip all of our teachers with what they need for that.
So a lot of our teachers continue, they're lifelong learners. They continue to go back to school. In our district, there's a whole approval process about courses they take. So if teachers want to go back and start taking courses about ESL, ELL, and getting their endorsement in that, or for special education and getting their endorsement in that, those are ones that we support and encourage. And our teachers, I mean, all those, the ESL cohort, we have so many teachers who've gone through that program, and now when they saw that there was we worked with Aurora University, and they offered that master's where you can get certified in both ELL as well as special education. We had a lot of teachers who jumped at that because in almost all of your classes, you're going to have students who are either ELL students or have an IEP, and our teachers want to do the best to support them, and so we really encourage that. So we have a lot of teachers across the district who have taken those, but as you've heard, it's not a requirement, but they do that because they want to reach all learners.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question on the biliteracy, slide 20. So can you tell me again what the requirement is regarding language for our district in terms of graduation?
Boy, because that falls on the World Languages Department, not on the EL department. Having said that, I happen to have had experience as a World Language Department chair eons back. It is encouraged that all of our students take a minimum of 2 years of foreign language in high school, because that will help them when they go to college. Is it mandatory? I think that all students have the, it's an elective. So
Mhm.
all students do have the choice to select something else if they wish.
Yeah, much of my question, which you've answered about biliteracy, I guess I see an overlap with so much of our ELL students and the languages that are offered in our district, or that can be offered. When you have 108 languages being spoken, there's no way we can offer all of that. But is there a pathway for our students to be recognized for that second language? And I believe, if I'm right,
Through the seal of biliteracy, they can.
through the seal of
A
biliteracy.
a student does not have to take a foreign language to receive the seal of biliteracy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Karubas.
Can we look at the slide ESL versus bilingual education? This is the one that talks about the cutoff of 20 or more students. I just want to point out and let the board reflect that this is one of the areas of unintended consequences with potentially with drawing boundaries, where you could draw a boundary that either adds a program or gets rid of a program. So I think it's important for us to reflect that although 20 is a pretty low threshold and it might not be specific to this one level of programming, you can easily see that drawing boundaries impacts actual instruction, whether it's the ability to have an art class or its ability to have some additional language education. So I just want to reflect on that. I don't think it's much more for this presentation, but it's just an interesting observation. And then on the student exits, I would like to see at a future board presentation some information on where we stand with comparable districts. If that information is readily available, it's not such a burden on you to put together. We've got our set of comparables, and to see how we're doing relative to others with exiting will give us some idea.
Luckily, I'm very good friends with all the directors from around the area.
Make a phone call, that's right.
So I can request some data.
I think that would be important for the board and the community to see is where we sit. It's good to see year over year internally, but also where we stand in relation to others. And then just on the student exits, I want to thank the work of our students, parents, guardians, and the teachers in kind of partnering to make sure that there is student improvements on that. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We always knew our district was very diverse, and when you hear about the volume of languages that are spoken, I think I used it a lot during the election campaign, those that listened to me. But when you see it on slides and presented, it really is an impressive and awesome environment for our students to learn from each other. The diversity of us makes us stronger. And I just want a couple things. When you talked about a couple of reluctance things, like one of them was reluctance for the parents to have their student identified to be in these programs. And I was trying to understand what drives that reluctance. Are they concerned their child will be special? Or,
I think the reluctance of parents is they feel that they're being labeled or that they're being targeted. Something we don't do.
Right.
And
I mean,
we
it seems
try,
like it's beneficial.
I can take that camel to water, but I can't make it drink the water. We have tried. It doesn't matter what you say to certain parents. They're just not going to be willing to accept the fact that you are putting a label on their children. Some think that we're doing it because of money, which couldn't be further from the truth, to be quite honest with you. The state gives us funding based on the amount of services the students receive. Yes, student numbers, but the amount of services. If we have a student that is at low level, we don't receive most nothing for them. You know, so it's not, we clearly have the best interest of the children at heart. So, but, you know, some parents think that you're targeting them or that you just want to point out minorities and things of that nature. And all we can do is reassure them, teach them, and explain. I've invited parents. I've gone to schools and sat down with parents to say, listen, let me explain to you. And it's still, you have the right to refuse services as a parent. What you don't have the right is to not have your child take that test. Well, the state gave it this time because of COVID, but you know, it's just like saying to a parent telling you, I don't want my child to take the park, for example. You can't. It's part of the system. It's part of the system, the public education system, in any case.
So the other reluctance I heard discussed was about sometimes leaving the program or being an EL learner throughout high school. Or is there so what drives those kids to not want to exit the program, I guess is my question. Is there
It's
something?
not the kids, it's the parents. So sometimes, and that happens more in the, okay, so there's two scenarios on this. The first one is, that happens more at the elementary level where a parent may not feel their child is ready to take on the world, if you will, to take on general education all by themselves, and they want a little more support for their kids, which is what we always call it. We say, your child is not in a program where is a pull-out tutor. This is not what's happening. We are providing support to your child to make them more successful. So there are parents that when their kids exit, they may request if their kid can stay another year just to get that extra stronger base of support, which we will oblige and do. Now, teenagers, from my experience when I was at East Aurora years ago when I started my career there, you had a lot of kids that were comfortable with their friends in the environment, didn't want to leave it. So they didn't care to pass the test. They just wanted to stay with their clan, with their group of little friends. They all spoke Spanish in the classroom and whatever the case may be. I don't think we really have that issue, but unfortunately, it's hard to get to those kids in the middle school to make them understand. Because to them, you know, they think my kid thinks she knows it all. You know, we all go through that. But it's our job to work with them and say, this is to your benefit. Whether they take that advice or not, sometimes is, you know, you break your head thinking, why are you not listening to what I got to tell you, you know? But
Yeah. I don't know what slide we're on. Slide 13. I want to go back to that. I know others have pointed that out, but in my concluding comments, you know, I know you said we don't have all the data yet, but the data that we do have here is pretty remarkable given the year that we've gone through in the past. And I truly want to thank all of the staff and the parents and the students themselves for working hard through an incredibly difficult year. But it really is impressive to see that we had these results. So thank you very much.
no, thank you. I want to thank you guys for your support. I mean, this board is super supportive, always has been, and it'll continue to be. So thank you. Our teachers, thank you. I thank them. That's all I do. I just thank them. I said, thank you for making our department look good. They're the ones that do all the hard work. And so I bow to them on a consistent basis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
Okay, we have two more topics. The first is legislative advocacy. And I know I attended the LEND meeting. Dr. Talley was there. There was a lot of time spent on House Bill 2778, which is about teacher administration leave. It passed both the House and Senate, but has been pulled aside because there was concern it would be vetoed at the governor's desk. So there is ongoing work to look at that bill, and Lend opposes it, IASB opposes it, so I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it in the future. They also, I thought what was interesting was they talked about spring priorities, and they listed 3. Evidence-based funding, so trying to ensure that we continue to have our programs funded at the level we're at or improved. Legislation around bus driver shortages, like changing possibly some of the rules on who can transport students, or other contractual different changes that we can make to address the bus driver shortage. And the last one was about tax incremental financing, that they are working on reforming the statute so that there's more transparency, and also possibly having, more of a role from school districts in that process. So I thought those were all interesting and positive things to help us. So, did anybody have any other legislative items? Yeah. Okay, and then our last one is Board of Education update, and I believe Mr. Rising attended the large district meeting for us, and maybe has some comments.
In your absence, I did, and was happy to do so. It was interesting. So basically, large districts, was attended by IASB and the president of IASB, and they basically just told us to pay out again to a lot of legislative issues. This again was a couple weeks ago, and action's already taken place on the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act, as we know. The other thing that was brought up just within IASB is IASB was not happy with the letter that was sent to the president by the National School Board Association. IASB is going to be meeting the first week in November and deciding what action, if they want to take, against NSBA, because they were not happy, and they may even consider not paying their dues to NSBA. So we'll see what happens there. At a federal level, they said to keep an eye on the infrastructure bill. There's going to be, within that infrastructure bill is possible money on electric school buses, lead pipes within schools, broadband infrastructure for schools, as well as the reconciliation bill, which it talks about or gives money towards school infrastructure and child nutrition. And then the president just recently signed a Cybersecurity Act, which is going to be soon releasing a toolkit for large school districts to kind of put cybersecurity efforts into place. But as we've heard from Mr. Mack, he's already doing a lot of that himself. So those were the updates.
Thank you. One other item, I know that Mr. Razak, when he was our president, did a lot of work to strengthen our position in IASB and improve our payment structure that we pay for our dues. And as a follow-up, I have requested a meeting with IASB for early December with several of the school districts around this area to continue that discussion, given the size of our districts and some of the other districts around us. I want to make sure that we continue to have a strong voice in IASB, so I will be attending that in early December. So if you have any specific items you would like me to bring into that meeting, think about it, and I'll bring this up again before the meeting happens. So, thank you. And with that.
Motion adjourned. Oh, wait, could I say that?
No, we have a tradition here.
I wanted to beat him.
We already had one tradition broke today.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
on our